Welcome back, everybody, to America's Mom. I am your host, Sharona Bishop. Wow, wow, wow. I just want to get started. I want to just be jumping right into President Trump's speech last night. His mandate to Congress continues. And of course, the Democrats could not be bothered to celebrate anything good that is happening in this country. But we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. The great Ann Vandersteel is going to be joining us here in just a few moments on America's Mom. And the Mister will be joining us to talk about the power of tariffs in American manufacturing for our last segment. You're not going to want to miss this. I have heard a lot of rumblings about that. I've heard from a lot of American companies, business owners who are very, very concerned. But the reality is, you guys, that there's many of us who have just been taking it for the last, really 10 to 12 to 15 years, almost since 2012. There were many of us who suffered under really oppressive policies that did not allow us to grow, literally cut our production and cut our ability to reach out to consumers to make money through taxation. And then, of course, the aggressive nature of the IRS if you did not file and if you had an error. I mean, all of the things that regular, everyday Americans have dealt with that big corporations have been able to get around. And I think it's not to punish anybody who's making money. I think everybody should be making money, be as productive as possible, and America should really be amping up this steam train, right, of money making, of production, of creating more jobs and bringing more industry back home. There is obviously going to be a penalty, though, for those who choose to keep doing business outside of America during a time when we are literally trying to get our home back. It's very different if things were just awesome and everything was going amazing prior to January 20th of 2025. That would be one thing, but that has not been what's going on in America. Everything has been going down. Everything was downgraded. Every business opportunity was downgraded. Eggs, by the way, I mean, still climbing, well over $12 for a 12 dozen pack of uncaged organic eggs, which is just insane, by the way. They used to be 4 years ago, we paid $5 for uncaged organic eggs. And those things are going to have to be dealt with. They're going to come back, but it takes a minute when your home has been turned upside down to get things back on track. President Trump's only been in office for, I believe, 47 days, 49 days, and already things are looking up massively. We've got the petulant children who are kicking back and demonstrating we are absolutely above the target and to keep going in this direction. And then, of course, we have the your local elected, selected, I don't know, I don't know. We're going to have to see what happens with that, because there's going to be a lot of investigations finally into election fraud and corruption. But at any rate, your local elected representative who is really having a difficult time with oversight, really having a difficult time understanding why federal employees would have to explain their existence, because the American people are paying their wages with our tax dollars. Here's what I'm having a hard time understanding, and I want to talk with Ann about this. We're going to talk about it in the last segment also. What I'm having a hard time understanding here in America is why our elected officials would ever push back on minimizing and shrinking the federal government. It used to be that Democrats were for the working man, which would mean they would want smaller government. They would want the ability of government to reach into your life and devastate it to be as minimized as possible. And yet we have them literally demonstrating on the streets to keep federal employees who literally haven't shown up to work in 4 years. It's really mind blowing. But one of those congressional representatives who just can't stop flapping her mouth or her eyelashes is Jasmine Crockett. Now, I didn't want you all to miss out on this. We are going to feature her music debut right here on America's Mom. Get your trash cans and your duct tape. You will not believe how this congressperson chose to use her time, talk about justifying your existence, to make this incredible video. Let's roll it.
Oh, no. It's a cultural divide. I'm going to get it on the floor. You really about to do it? 40 acres in the mule. This is bigger than the music. You really about to do it? Yeah, they tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. Think it on it like that. Hey, I'm tripping, I'm sliding, I'm riding through the back like buck. Bust that on a beat, bro, beat. about any rap. He a freak though, man down, call like Amber Lambs. Tell him breathe, let them boys to the cross, they walk around like thieves. What's up with these?
I'm sorry. I'm very sorry I did that to you. I don't really know what that was. It kind of looked like some Kendrick Lamar moves from the Super Bowl. I'm not sure. And of course, the tongue is a nod to Baphomet, so you can guess where Crockett stands. I'm sorry I had to do that, but that is your Democrat congresspeople at work. That's what they do. I don't know what to make of it. I just know they better start making 5 things a week that they are actually doing to represent the people who sent them to Congress to actually work on their behalf. Because that right there is disgusting. And it reminded me a little bit of the doctors during COVID, who were just so slammed with dead bodies and death and more dead bodies and COVID bad and everybody's dying. But they amazingly had time to make TikToks. It was really something. Certainly is something what we prioritize, isn't it? Well, with more on what happened last night and really just to celebrate, Ann Vandersteel has been a voice on the front lines now for several years. And you had the amazing opportunity to actually work with President Trump. I don't know how many people realize this about your background. You were there working alongside him, watching his leadership skills, his work ethic for years before he ever became president. Can you talk about this a little bit before we dive into this incredible speech last night?
Sure. And wasn't it incredible last night? Talk about a victory lap. I worked for President Trump, then Mr. Trump, in 1990 and 91 down in Trump Plaza in West Palm Beach. 2 beautiful buildings, a North and South Tower. I was in the North Tower on the 17th floor. Big wink there. And I worked in an all-female office. Yep, it was the 17th floor. I worked in an all-female office. And then before he was president, Mr. Trump used to come into the office weekly, sometimes more than that, to address any of the concerns or ongoing issues. It was a property that he owned that there was sales and leasing. And so as the resident liaison, I worked directly with the GM, the general manager, and also integrated back into his DC executive branch up in New York. I'm sorry, not DC, his New York office and the executive branch up there. And he came in regularly and just communicated, but more in terms of asking a broad question and sitting back and listening to the answers from the ladies in the office. Always professional, always charismatic, but always on point. He took what he heard from us and he acted on it. And by the next day or Monday, whenever it was, whatever the concern was, it was addressed and we moved on from there. So it was always onward and upward. Highly professional, very charming, but again, truly a businessman. And I told my dad one day coming home from work, I said, Daddy, this man needs to run for president. Now, mind you, I was fresh out of college back then. So I thought, what a great representation for a true, executive leader to come in and kind of clean up what we now know is true waste, fraud, and abuse on steroids these days.
So many levels. We're going to talk about it too in just a second. But I just like for people to know you were an OG. I was not pro-Trump until obviously he was elected. And then I was like, oh, wow, this is amazing. So you are an OG. Everybody should know that. Take note. Ann Vandersteel was an OG and she knew before everyone else this was going to be an amazing ride for our country. I will always remember about that meeting you for the first time, your commitment and just understanding, nope, this guy knows what to do. I want to start with the comments actually made about the Doge last night. Let's run that video and then I want to get your take on all this.
People from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them. And we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid and nobody does. And it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159 and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby.
All right. What do you think? Who's got the money? Who's taking that money? Over 3.5 million people who are over 140 years old, Ann.
Hey, I'd love to meet some of these people. I think the oldest person I ever met was down in the Darien Gap, and I didn't actually get to meet her. I only heard about her through folklore. She was 125 years old, lady that lived in Nimbara Indian, living in the village. That would have been the oldest person. Michael has met her, Michael Yon. But yeah, okay. And the funny thing is, I wish they would have panned over to the left side of the chamber to see the Democrats with their stupid signs. I'd love for them to hold that sign up that says Musk steals and Trump lies while he's talking about the statistics where they've already tracked the money. They're just like, who are these people? This is how much money we're spending on Social Security for 130,000 people who are older than 160 years old. I mean,
It's
Sharona, come on.
I know.
It's just a
Yeah.
bad look. It was a bad
And
look, but I think it was really a roast. And I think he's priming the pumps for the elections in 2026. We're going to have a blue bloodbath and a red wave like this country's never seen before.
well, the Democrats constantly talk about Social Security. It's been one of their big issues. They're saying Elon's going to take it away from them through this massive slashing. People are going to, I've seen it on Twitter. You've got congressmen, Democrat congressmen saying, scaring people to death, saying your Social Security checks are going to stop in 30 to 60 days. You watch, I guarantee you. And then you have what they exposed last night, all of these people who are receiving Social Security money, or somebody's receiving it, somebody's getting that check. I want to know who those people are. If this is going back, if it's a big money laundering scheme going back to actual congressional members, maybe former members. I am very curious to see where that money's going to end up at. But don't you think as Democrats, they should have been saying, wow, this is really amazing. We've been so worried. They could take it and turn it into a talking point for their party, but instead they sit on their hands and knees and, or, well, yeah, well, that too, actually. And they simply degrade America, and they
Yeah.
simply degrade the effort that the Doge is making to find all of this wasted money that's not going back to the taxpayers. Is this even the Democrat Party anymore?
It's not. I don't even know what it is. It's some kind of socialist demonic club at this point. They don't represent the people at all. And like you said in your open, the Democrats always represented the working American, and today they represent nothing but a den of thieves. Again, if they really cared about the money, if they really cared about Social Security, they would have been cheering on the fact that somebody over at Doge has figured out how to run algorithms and find all kinds of waste, fraud, and abuse that potentially could be going into really bolster Social Security so that it doesn't run out of money in X period of time. But again, this is not what we're dealing with. We are dealing with a uniparty. We're dealing with a select few. You now know how people that are making $175,000 a year all of a sudden are multi millionaires when they're only in Congress for 4 and 5 years. It makes no sense whatsoever. But now it makes a lot of sense, and that's why they're sitting on their hands. I think most of those people probably just slithered back out under the rock from where they came, uh, because they just hoped that nobody would notice that they're part of that particular club. It's going to be a fun next 12 to 14 months, Sharona, as we gear up for these races in 26, because I think there's so many sound bites and clips from last night's presidential speech that will be used in campaigns as they challenge and primary some of these people right out of office.
We have to take note of Ilhan Omar. She did the media circus and said that there would be a lot of dress coding. I almost wore pink, but I wore black because it's really death to, we're at the funeral basically of the Democrat Party right now. But I did almost wear a cute pink. I don't know what shade of disgusting pink they were wearing last night, but it was really horrific. She said we would see color coding, which is, color revolution talk. We might hear shouting like Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene did during Biden's speech, and we might see other things happening. It was the most bizarre interview. I'm like, who gets on and tells their strategy of how they plan to protest the president they don't support? It's so childish. I just feel like this is the worst reality show I've ever seen from the Democrats. I need them to amp their game up a little bit. Like, give me something to look for. Give me something to watch, because it was pretty pathetic last night. However, they did manage to get one of their congressmen thrown out from the Houston area. We're not surprised. What did you think about that? And I want to know what your favorite part, the highlight for you, was in President Trump's address of the Congress last night.
Well, seeing Al Green get thrown out was appropriate, although I couldn't make out what he was saying because he was drowned out by other people chanting,
I think he was
again.
drunk.
He
I
might
think
have
he was
been drunk.
drunk.
I don't know. I have no idea, but certainly to
Him
get
and
up there.
him and Nancy were swapping beverages.
Did you watch that? Did they have a little flask there under the chair? But no, for sitting there, he's pointing his cane, he's yelling at Trump. He was out of order, standing up, making a spectacle of himself. I think it was appropriate that Speaker Johnson grew a pair last night and threw him out. I'm glad. It almost seemed like he was ready for it because, like you said, the Democrats had done such a great job of telegraphing the fact that they were going to be completely disorderly and disrespectful in the chamber, in the people's house. Frankly, they're supposed to be representing us. So if you voted for those people, you should be taking an extra shower right now that your representative misrepresented who you are. And if this is how you really are, well, you know what? You're never going to come to an accord and try to get things solved, because if you act belligerent like that, it's obviously not somebody who wants to actually solve problems. Hence, we saw what happened with Zelensky on Thursday, basically getting kicked out of the White House. Now he's coming groveling back after the EU and his NATO allies have recognized they're nothing without the United States. There'll be no war to sustain against Russia without the United States. So, all of these things, these children are getting spanked in daddy's home and the adults are returning back to the White House. As far as my favorite moment, I think part of it was, of course, him recognizing, that young boy who was, struggling with his battle with brain cancer, honoring him as and recognizing that he's an honorary police officer, but also including him as an honorary Secret Service member. That child was just, this is like a Make-A-Wish type moment, right? And that child was just absolutely stunned that he got that as an addition to already becoming an honorary police officer. That was beautiful. And of course, the Democrats couldn't even cheer that. They couldn't cheer for Laken Riley, for the Laken Riley Act. They couldn't cheer for the fact that, other folks were getting parks named after them. They couldn't cheer for anything that is really a reflexive moment for people who've lost so much or who have been to battle. They couldn't cheer for any of it. And again, they're supposed to be representing the people. This is just, it was astonishing to me. I did really appreciate at one point when Trump was talking about how they've been rounding up all these sex traffickers and gang members, and he was pointing over to the Democrat side, basically calling them, human traffickers and pedophiles. It was quite appropriate.
We're still waiting for the release of all the Epstein documentation. I think we're going to find some really sad stuff in there. For those who are wondering, too, just a little shout out to the Franklin scandal. You can go buy it on Amazon, and it has the Epstein list in it and the flight logs. I'm not sure what we're waiting for on that. It's already been published years ago. So just as a side note, go check that out. But a lot of our Congress people obviously are named in that book as well, including former presidents. So that's going to be interesting. I wanted to share this video with you. Just speaking of the things that President Trump does to spread, one thing he's been so good at, I've watched him in real time, how he always is willing to give the floor and give the glory to others. People accuse him of being egotistical or an egomaniac or narcissistic because he has to remind everybody of all the things that he's done, because before we had MSNBC constantly tearing him down and trying to dissuade the people from understanding the great things he was doing for them. I love watching when he amplifies and lifts up everyone else. And obviously we've gotten to see a lot more of that already in the first 49 days because he's not fighting the press. He's not having to fight with everybody around him. The cabinet is secure. I want to roll this video. This was the honoring last night of Jason Hartley. Makes me want to cry. And I wanted to share this too, because again, you've known President Trump more in this capacity and seen him in this capacity than any of us who've watched him as the president. So let's take a look at
this. We're joined tonight by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a 6-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But I'm pleased to inform you that your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
Wow.
Awesome. And just see the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, lean over and give him the thumbs up, and Jason give the thumbs up right back. I mean, how amazing is that? First of all, to be recognized for the family sacrifice, and then to be lauded as a brilliant six-letter athlete who's applied to West Point, and then to find out on live television in this in a chamber meeting with the president, basically a State of the Union, if you will, that hey, your application has been accepted, and to have all that on the world stage. I mean, let's be honest, Sharona, it wasn't just the United States that was watching this address last night. It was the entire world, because again, as America goes, so goes the rest of the planet. And people want to know what's happening in this country because we've been so upside down for so long. So there's just another great example of President Trump embracing, talent and being gracious about loss in family and appreciating, and empathizing. It's just, that's who he is. Really, really extraordinary to see.
We're going to take just a quick break. I'm going to just take a minute to thank our sponsors, and then we're going to come back again with you. And I want to talk a little bit more about the Zelensky situation with you, as I know you're very informed on that. And then also we're going to touch on the Tina Peters. Am I okay to keep you over for just a little bit longer?
Of course, sure.
Okay, wonderful. Well, friends, again, thank you guys for being with us today on America's Mom. I am going to go ahead and just address our sponsor right now because President Trump talked about it last night. And I'm going to actually spend some time in the last segment talking about American manufacturing and the power of that to drive our country back into full steam and make sure that all ships are rising in this country. Everyone is going to be lifted up by American manufacturing and making this country great again. In fact, as Ann just said, the whole world is going to be blessed because of America, and it's already beginning to happen. So what do I do? Well, friends, I shop American made every single opportunity that I get. I was so grateful 2.5 years ago to find a company that offers more than 500 everyday use items, right? Things you do, put in, on, and around your body. They are toxin free. They have no endocrine disruptors, not trying to turn your boys into girls or girls into boys, not messing with your testosterone or estrogen. That's an endocrine disruptor, things that mess with your hormones. None of that stuff. It was green and clean before it became a policy that could make you filthy rich in Congress. They just did it because it was the right thing to do to make toxin free products for the families that everyone could use and enjoy. From toothpaste to body lotion to my absolute favorite supplements. On my social media, you guys, I talk about this all the time. The supplements I take come from this great American manufacturer. I know you're going to love them. And by the way, it's a club. It is not for everybody. We do not need Jasmine Crockett's in there, although if she was to convert, we would happily take her. No, this is for those who love this country, care about American made, care about great, safe, high quality products for your family, and of course, want to make sure that everything we're doing is going back to support American workers first. So you guys go to shopwithpatriots.com. Go check it out today. I have been highly publicizing the berberine because I love it. And I know that a lot of us got really fat because we were so unhappy the last 4 years under the Biden regime. We didn't know what was going to happen. So actually we were bulking in case we got sent to those FEMA camps. I know that's what we were doing, guys. I know that's what we were doing. But now it's time to lose the bulge. So make sure you check out my berberine there at shopwithpatriots.com. Go check it out today. And I'm going to be so excited to have you be a part of this great American club. All right. Speaking of, Anne, you said it exactly right. The whole entire world is watching, and the things that have played out prior to this speech this past week with Zelensky and JD Vance in the president's office. I mean, you've got Zelensky feeling so emboldened by Susan Rice and the deep state globalists in that meeting. In my opinion, I do have confirmation that that is what happened. He was advised by Susan Rice and the deep state globalists of Obama's leftovers there, that he needed to go in there and deny and reject President Trump and take a stand and be bold. He literally called JD Vance an itch, just put a B at the front of there, guys, under his breath in Ukraine during that meeting. What's happening?
It was vile. It was repulsive. It was promulgated by Chuck Schumer. Let's be clear. He went in and he had a meeting with Chuck Schumer and the establishment, and they basically poked and prodded and said, "You don't need to listen to Trump. He's one of Putin's puppets. He's just there to do whatever Putin wants. Don't listen to him. Do not negotiate for peace. Just be a thorn in the side." And frankly, it's interesting. War Clandestine has a great tweet out right now. He put it up today. And I'm just going to read this because I think it summarizes and encapsulates everything that we already know about Ukraine. Well, I'd say most of us now have learned about Ukraine. And he says, I'm surprised how many people were completely unaware that the CIA was openly sharing intelligence with Ukraine and that Ukraine is basically a proxy of the US. Again, we've been using Ukraine in a proxy war against Russia because it's a great way just to continue to funnel money right through our military industrial complex, in addition to protecting our biolabs that Victoria Nuland testified before Congress and explained we have biolabs there, and they were worried about the Russians getting access to our biolabs. Well, of course, the Russians want access to it. They want to shut them down. And of course, the whole march of, getting NATO to try and, or should I say, getting Ukraine to try and become part of NATO flies in the face of everything that has been discussed and negotiated with Russia going back to the 90s. They didn't want NATO right up against their border. It means they're going to have nuclear weapons on their border. No, any more than we want Russian nukes on our border. Does anybody remember the Cuban Missile Crisis? So he goes on and he says Ukraine's military is basically an army that the United States and NATO built for fighting Russia indirectly. Of course, calling them pawns on a chessboard. That's exactly what they are. And he calls out the reasons that Putin would have escalated this, Sharona. It's very obvious. When we conducted that regime change in 2014, Putin knew what was coming next, that we were going to try and march Ukraine right into NATO, which would have put nukes right on the border. This has been the proverbial, we're going to keep poking the bear. We're going to keep poking the bear because the more we poke the bear fight back. And then you have this sort of this ongoing war and skirmish. And we can always say, oh, the Russians are so bad. You know what? We started this. I should say our government started this, but the people are now keen on to who the government is. And it's time for a regime change over here. And that's what we're seeing with President Trump. And I think that's what we're going to roll into in 26. We're going to finally really drain the swamp this time. Thank you, Doge, too.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, I'm curious your thoughts on this too. Do you think Zelensky is going to be able to stay in power? There's conjecture that literally without America's protection, if Putin is to say, hey, what do you think about Zelensky? And Trump is to say, I don't care. Does Zelensky maintain his CO2 levels?
It's a great question. I could see it going both ways, but considering the lukewarm response he got from the EU when he left the Oval on Thursday, he got in front of the folks, his friends over in Europe, and they basically slammed the door on him. He thought he was going to get all the protection. They were going to level up. Oh, we're going to start, our own European army with 5,000 people. Really? Where is that 5,000 people going to go when it comes head to head with Russians? Nowhere. It's going to go right into body bags, which is basically what the conscripted poor people that have been conscripted into war to fight alongside, for NATO, for Ukraine, has happened. They have just wasted bodies left and right in Ukraine, dragging people out of their cars and their homes because they can't get anybody to join the Ukrainian army and go to the front lines to fight the Russians. So, Europe's talking bad really fizzled out, and they basically shut the door on Zelensky, which is why he had no choice but to come back and say, please, President Trump, can we negotiate the peace deal now? I'm ready. And we'll talk about, the rare earths, et cetera, which, by the way, Sharon, I just want to point this out. The rare earth minerals and the minerals that they're talking about are in eastern Ukraine along the Russian border. Don't you think if Russia really wanted to take over Ukraine, they would have gone over there and secured that for themselves? No, it was never about that. It was always about keeping the aggressors of NATO out off their border, keeping the nukes off their border. And of course, the Russian-speaking people in eastern Ukraine were being attacked by the Azov, by the Western Ukrainians, which are really more of the Nazi-esque style Ukrainians. So again, Russians were asking for help from Mother Russia. And let's face it, Ukraine did used to be part of the Soviet Union.
Well, it was really clear too. So I do find this interesting. I think people should know the conversations I've had with General Pushkin and Reznikov and some of the members of parliament there in Romania, or excuse me, in Ukraine. I don't think they really understand. Like, there's this illusion that they can amass so much weaponry that they will be able to protect and defend themselves and have their own country if only everyone, the caveat is everyone else needs to provide it for us though first. And then we'll be able to stand on our own 2 feet. This is really an interesting situation. They've got these rare earth minerals supposedly, and I love that you said get the geological survey, by the way. Great reality check there. We need to be able to see that these things actually exist. And only China and America have the technology to actually be able to go in there and drill. and
That's
do
right.
what needs to be done there. So they could have gone to China, and for whatever reason they didn't. And I think that's because China is backing Russia. I think we understand they're on the same team.
Right.
And then of course they had to come to America. But I think Zelensky's biggest problem obviously has been he is snuffed out of his mind and cannot have a rational thought. And he went around on these little podcasts in America talking with spooks and talking about how we have not done enough for America, and then asking who's going to pay the bill next for him. I've been mortified watching his interviews. The best thing they could have done was just shut Zelensky up, send him back home, and send an adult into the room. And hopefully they've learned from this. I would just want to kind of go over America at large and the direction that we're going. There was a poll that was done just yesterday. So I want to make sure I'm on the right one here. There was a poll that was just done, and it is really, really shocking and surprising that the pollsters are actually putting this out. I want to get your take on this. This is a CBS News YouGov poll, and this was provided after Trump's speech. Okay. And already they're saying that 77% of Americans, so this is unbiased, they support President Trump's plan to cut waste and spending. 77% back his immigration policies. 76 approved of his speech. They approve of removing congressmen who interrupt the speech. 76%. That's Democrats, Independents, and
Yeah.
Republicans. 74% say his speech was very presidential. And you and I was like, I can't cut a single word out of here because I think every single word was massively meaningful. 68% say that it makes them feel hopeful and proud. 68% say he clearly has a plan to tackle inflation. 68% say he accurately described America's crime crisis. There was
Mm.
so much in that speech last night, from securing the border, flying out the most dangerous of our criminals right now. And then also there was a lot of alluding afterwards to a congressional inquiry already that's starting in Colorado, that's happening right now in DC. When you hear stats like this and you see that Democrats, Republicans, and Independents are coming together over this common sense agenda of President Trump, what do you say about that and the trend and the trajectory to keep it moving forward, even when MSM is telling us 50% support President Trump, if that?
You know what I say to the Democrats? Read the room, people. Read the room. The room around you is showing there's been overwhelming support for this president's agenda, for what he campaigned on, for the fact the last 4 years we survived a mushroom squatting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, really a Chinese puppet. Joe Biden, who is nothing short of a pedophile, prolific one at that, and a human trafficker, a kingpin at that, who's absolutely just defiled our Constitution, ignored Article 4, Section 4, and flooded our country with rapists and thugs and cartel members and just some of the most dangerous people, even so much so that President Maduro in Venezuela admitted that Joe Biden called him and said, please send me the Tren de Aragua. That is the worst criminal gang on the planet. Yes, we want them imported in our country. And what happened in Colorado, Sharona? That's right. They were taking over apartment buildings, right? And they're in Chicago as well. So again, I think the Democrats need to really read the room and look around and go, wow, I don't think America's really kind of down with us and what we're saying and our stupid outfits we're wearing and our dumb little signs. I think America is kind of picking up on the fact that Elon is representing the people at this point and just kind of looking under the hood to see where the money's going. And, maybe Americans are going to get pissed when they find out it's going back in my back end, in my wallet. Yeah, they need to read the room, Sharona, and they need to get with the program, or they just need to get off the planet. Frankly, maybe Elon can send them to Mars and they can colonize out there and be all the communist socialist freak shows that they want to be, but they're not welcome here anymore. That's obvious.
Yeah, they wouldn't last long because there's nobody giving free stuff out there.
It's
Um,
true.
let's get to Tina Peters, because, of course, there's been great breaking news this past week. You've been talking about, you've stayed on the front lines of everything that has happened with Clerk Tina Peters out of Mesa County. And, which I'm so grateful for, because many, many people would not. They would not talk about it. They would not touch it. It was literally a four-letter filth word to talk about Tina on the media. And of course, one of those people that we have begged for to use their voice and their authority was Congresswoman Lauren Boebert. She came from that district, and she recently made a statement last night before the actual congressional meeting with President Trump. She made a statement on Benny Johnson's show. It's the first statement I have heard out of Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who was formerly of the 3rd Congressional District, when all of this happened and took place. And I wanted to share this with you and just kind of get your feedback. If we can roll that very brief clip of Congresswoman Lauren Boebert finally acknowledging Clerk Tina Peters out of her district, out of the state of Colorado, who, by the way, was the person, Tina Peters was the person who made the forensic images that proved Dominion voting machines was deleting election files, both a state crime and a federal crime.
Right.
Let's take a listen real quick.
Was working in the county elections saying there's fraud going on, and people are like, this is the same lady that lost all the hard drives and thumb drives that were keeping all the voting systems secure in the state. It's crazy, sloppy, insane. She didn't even know they were lost. Anyway, the point is that she prosecuted this little old lady and gave her, what, like 20 years in jail?
9 years. So
9 years?
Yes. So they were originally saying they were going after Tina Peters for federal charges. And it was like a conspiracy to commit wire fraud because she took the information. She downloaded information. She said, we see that there is fraud here. We see that our voter machines are connecting to Wi-Fi. They have the capability to, and she took the data that she found and she went across state lines with it. So originally they were going after her for a federal charge, and the judge ended up so upset with her, and I guess he saw that President Trump would likely be back in the office and could pardon her, and so they did not charge her federally. It was only state crimes that they ended up charging her with, and one of the charges was for
Okay, I have never heard that before, and I've been here since day one. I have no idea what Lauren Boebert's talking about. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not aware of that. So I'm not sure if she has her facts confused or if we're confused. But considering that I know you have covered that story up one side, down the other, I've done a fair share of reporting on it, nowhere near as much as you, Sharona. But again, I'm not from Colorado either. That really is personal to you. That I don't know where that information is coming from. However, I will say this. Tina Peters poses a really interesting conundrum because she can show with the files that files were deleted, right? That they changed everything. She can prove that. Now, if you extract that Dominion machines are used everywhere, it certainly would then open up investigations, in discovery to find out, are they doing it in other states? So does that straddle some kind of jurisdictional witness situation? Could she become a federal witness because of that? If you learn that in discovery, I don't really know because I'm not a legal eagle, and I think legal fiction's bunk anyway. I mean, if we're looking at crime, and nobody died, right? And we can prove that the election was stolen. She shouldn't even be in prison right now. That's case in point. But because we're dealing with legal statutes and legal fiction, this is just a word salad for the judiciary, which is completely corrupt in Colorado. So, Sharona, this is really an interesting case. I would love to be able to see her get pulled out and pardoned by President Trump, but it's going to take some sort of legal maneuvering to make that happen, if it can even happen.
What I thought was interesting about the statement that Lauren Boebert just made was, first of all, when all of this transpired, she had separated herself from everything, even though she had supported Tina Peters in making the images. She was present for the meeting with Conan Hayes. She knew everything ahead of time that was going to happen. And then she separated herself from Tina Peters in October of 2021, a month before the raids.
Why?
What was interesting, yeah. So I think we just got our answer as to what happened. And in my mind, if they were saying the federal government was threatening that they were going to prosecute Tina Peters, I'm sure they brought the Congresswoman in because they would have seen through our text messages and our signal groups that she was a part of it. And I'm sure there were some threats that were made there. What I thought was interesting right there is what Mike Davis just recently came out and said, that part of the inquiry, right, the statement of interest, is asking whether or not it was weaponization by the government against Tina Peters just to punish her for asking if these elections were legitimate or not. I think that is really key, what Lauren Boebert just said there. And I would be interested to have a follow-up conversation, or maybe you can reach out to her and have a follow-up conversation with her, because that was an interesting statement there. She's saying something I've never heard before, that they were going to press for federal, but they thought Trump might get elected, and they wanted to make sure that Tina got the full punishment that Dominion felt she deserved. I find that really, really a fascinating clip.
Well, again, we've seen the weaponization of just Dominion in itself, going after our friend Mike Lindell and other people, Clay Clark. I mean, the lawsuits have become Sidney Powell. She's dealing in billions of dollars in lawsuits. The weaponization of just trying to bury the truth and really just bankrupt people so that they can't press. It's just really a suppression issue, isn't it, Sharona? They don't want you asking questions, so they're going to try and bankrupt you. They're going to try and sideline you and keep you busy filing motions and trying to, get yourself to a discovery. You're going up against a company that's got billions of dollars. And, they laundered money through Fox News, right? When Fox News paid them, uh,
Yes.
that fine was 875 million or something. I forget what the number was.
Incredible.
Right. So again,
Incredible.
all these people, all these companies are all owned by the same company, BlackRock. So it's just moving money around the chessboard and moving into different coffers. But you and I aren't part of that. So if they come after us because we say Dominion stole an election, they decide to sue me for saying that. I mean, they bankrupt me, and they know it.
Right.
They know it. So
Right.
it's really interesting. But that's a good idea. We should try and get Lauren Boebert on. I'd like to
Yeah.
follow up with her on that. That's pretty extraordinary.
It is extraordinary. It's new information, and I think you should do it. Ann Vandersteel, thank you so much for being with us on America's Mom today. I always appreciate your insight and all that you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharona.
All right, guys. Well, quick little break here. I want to share with you one of our sponsors before we bring our next guest on because, yes, I absolutely do use skincare. I'm not allowed to do Botox. I've been told I can't do Botox. So because I can't, I have to take care of my face. And I'm always looking for products that are going to help keep my skin as youthful as possible. And of course, it's all about the peptide for me. I want to introduce you to a great American manufacturer, Nimi Skincare, Nimi. Nimi Skincare, they are creating amazing products right here in the United States that help to keep your skin supple and hydrated and young. For my Midwest friends, you are going to love the Day and Night Moisturizer. It is full of peptides to cause the collagen to plump back up and get rid of those little lines and wrinkles. And it gives you so much hydration without making your skin oily and nasty. It's an amazing product. And one of my favorites right now also is their beautiful facial cleanser. It is a vitamin C cleanser with little exfoliating peptide or little exfoliating beads rather in it that just help to exfoliate the dead skin and make your skin really super shiny and bright and healthy. So when you go to put your makeup on, it lays really, really nice and it doesn't look all crunchy and crusty. Please go check them out. Again, another great American manufacturer who have been making products right here in the United States and putting American workers first. Nimi Skincare. Check it out at Patriot TV and go click on my icon and shop right there. Great stocking stuffer, great birthday gifts. And gentlemen, this is a great gift for your wife, just for I don't know, I just love you. And because I heard this was awesome, here you go. If you want to save a fortune off Botox, try Nimi Skincare today. All right. I can't help but say, of course, I love the Mister's perspective on things. We sit and get to have great conversations. I wish you guys could hear these conversations. He's such a thinker. And one of the things that we have been going over extensively has been the power of President Trump's tariffs. Neil Bishop, thank you for joining us. And we're going to dive right in because American manufacturing is the greatest solution that we have to getting America back to her exceptionalism as quickly as possible. President Trump last night really made the case for tariffs. He had a lot to say. Before I roll the video, what do you want to add?
Well, I have some thoughts on Lauren Boebert. I wish I could share those. I mean, I could very quickly if you want me to.
I mean, that was new information to you too, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. And my question is, so is it cool now to be talking about those who have been imprisoned and come under the tyrannical arm of this previous administration? Is it cool now for the Congresswoman to be coming out and talking about it? Because where was she in 2021 when people were having their doors bashed in and when they were raided and when Tina Peters was being persecuted and put in jail in handcuffs? And the only thing I remember Lauren Boebert doing is touting how well the Mesa County District Attorney was handling things at the time. So it does kind of make you wonder what's happened and what's changed. The only time I ever heard her talk about the tyrannical FBI is after President Donald J. Trump and his family were raided and abused by them. And then all of a sudden it became cool. And now that Trump has basically come out and said, we're going to have a DOJ investigation into Tina Peters, oh, all of a sudden Congresswoman Lauren Boebert has all this courage. I'm just wondering where she's been for all these years. But that's all I have to say on that.
Well, to quote the person who sent me the video in the first place, they called it political whoredom. I don't know. I'm just a mom. Huh.
That's
all right.
interesting. Well, anyway,
let's move along. Yeah.
Oh, American manufacturing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And just a P.S. If Lauren would like to come on and discuss any of this, it'd be great to have you. Great to have you.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move into American. Salty, a little pithy today, but boy, it's amazing. American manufacturing is definitely where it's at. President Trump laid it down last night and said tariffs for those American manufacturers who are not creating their products in America. Let's roll the tape.
If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea, but that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was, and so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day was cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer.
I mean, your thoughts right out the gate.
Right out the gate, what he's saying is we are tired of getting screwed, and we are sick of it. Now, many believe that President Trump et al. Are trying to bring back the republic, trying to restore the republic. In order to restore the republic, we've got to get out from under the people that are controlling us. And we have been getting screwed for so long, it's not even funny. And people don't realize this, but when you go to places like Walmart and Target and Amazon, 90+% of the products that you're looking at were made by one of the 11 huge conglomerates that are controlling us by their products. So these are companies like Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Johnson & Johnson, Kellogg's, PepsiCo, all this stuff. And what happens is when their shareholders like BlackRock and State Street and Vanguard say jump, they just say how high. And so when they say put a rainbow flag to celebrate all the trans ideology that's going on in this, 0.01% of the complete mental health wackos in this world, they have to do it because they are controlled by them. So what we have to do is come out from under the control of these Chinese-owned, BlackRock-controlled corporations and start taking the power back to local organizations, local businesses. So one example is in 2006 when Walmart opened in Chicago. It's like we celebrate, and I mean I'm not gonna be dishonest here. We go to Walmart too, and we have to. But what happens is when Walmart comes in, like in that case, 25% within a couple of years, 25% of local businesses within a 4-mile radius of a very condensed area closed. So what's happened is we love our options. We're Americans. We're consumers to the nth degree, and we want everything right now. We have the microwave mentality. We want all the good stuff, all the new iPhones, all the new flat screen TVs, all the new cars. We want everything right now at our fingertips. But what do we give up to have every single option of every single product in the world? We give up local businesses, and we give up hardworking families. Instead of making them wealthy and ourselves wealthy and creating local things that are healthy for us. So instead of creating local health and wealth, we're creating this huge controlled operations like BlackRock and President of these companies who are getting wealthier and wealthier on the shoulder of the peasants. So to have all these options and to have every single aisle of every single food product and every single electronic item that you want, that's great in the sense that, yeah, you have a lot of options. You get to choose what you want. It's not so great when you realize what you're giving up. What we want to do is bring back, and what Trump is trying to do is bring back local. First of all, the United States. And if we're going to make America great again, it starts with American manufacturing. And in order to make America great again, what is really the bedrock foundation of the United States is local businesses and families. And we just happen to be with a business that is a family-owned business that is not controlled by any shareholders like BlackRock or State Street or Vanguard, who doesn't jump when they say jump, who doesn't put rainbow flags on their products, and who doesn't have, some man dressing like a woman drinking a beer touting some product. They don't do that. They're into family values. They're into American made, American manufacturing. They're helping thousands and thousands, actually millions now, of families become healthier. They're helping employ families at a local level in the United States. And it's incredible. And so it's just a matter of like shifting or thinking a little bit from just going, well, whatever is cheapest and most convenient. That's the way Americans think. We need to get out of that. Let's say like whatever is the best made and whatever helps my neighbor. How about that? And then I'll come up with a few extra bucks maybe to pay for it. In the case of our business, you don't have to come up with extra bucks, but sometimes you do locally, and that's okay. Come up with an extra few bucks to buy a better product and help your neighbor.
I mean, yeah, we just don't, we're not wasteful with our dollars anymore. We're very conscientious of what we're spending. But I do think also as we see inflation start to finally come down and this whole money system get worked out here in America, people are going to recognize we've got to go back to quality. It's so funny. I would rather have a washing machine from 30 years ago than the most current model because I know they used to be built to last rather than a throwaway society. So this company that you work with that we started shopping from 2.5 years ago is an American made, American manufacturing company that supports American workers. And again, Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, President Trump, Mike Lindell, all these people who understand business, understand how to make something grow and make something last, have said publicly, repeatedly, American manufacturing is the fastest train out of hell. And we have certainly been in hell under the Biden administration. So friends, I want to introduce you to this. Tell us a little bit about the actual company and what people can find there for their everyday lives and lifestyles. What can you expect when you check out this great American manufacturer?
Yeah, it checks all the boxes for conservative, value-minded people that are concerned about shopping values, not just shopping cheap. So you're concerned about shopping with your ethics and with your morals. And it checks all the boxes. They're great products. It's a family-owned business. It's a 40-year new company. I say new because, man, they are on the cutting edge of all of the industry of actually developing using the science, in-house scientists here in the United States, develop products, manufacture them at the same site that they're developed on, including the local ingredients here in the US, and then delivering them straight from this manufacturing site or one of 3 in the United States to your doorstep. There's no middleman. There's no middleman. There's no distributor. This is not MLM and that kind of thing. This is
they're not funded by USAID either.
They're not. They have no
taxpayer dollars
US
aren't paying for it.
Exactly. Yeah, they've paid for everything. And that's another great thing about this company is they're debt free. So again, they don't have people breathing down their necks that they owe $100 million to, that they have to add. So for example, all these BlackRock owned Chinese companies, if they get a call saying, hey, we want you to add polysorbate 80 to this or that product. Polysorbate 80 is in a lot of these bad products. And what that does, it breaks down the blood-brain barrier. So it allows blood to carry toxins into your brain. Your body is given a natural, God-given mechanism to inhibit toxins from your blood going to the brain. Polysorbate 80 opens that up. Well, when you're taking these products that you think are just maybe a vitamin or maybe it's a food or something like that, if it has polysorbate 80 in it, there's something else going on there that you don't even realize it's going to have really, really harmful and toxic long-term effects. So they don't have that. And they do all of their research right here in the US. They're not relying on China to research and ship over products and ship over ingredients that they need. And so the whole tariff thing, we can bypass that and just shop American And then all Trump is saying with that, again, it's like, why don't we tax other countries the same as they've taxed us for years? So yeah,
So
this company is great. Over 450 household products. We're talking about cleaning products. We're talking about protein, vitamins and supplements,
you guys,
outstanding, 80% absorption. They change your life. I
your
can't make.
hair.
Oh, well, there you
You
go.
guys, all my
Hair
all my
thickness.
cosmetics I'm wearing,
Yeah.
my hair, my blonde shampoo, this is from them. This blonde is from them. I am using their purple shampoo. It is absolutely amazing. Everything is the highest quality. I've really just been a shopper until recently. And now I'm like, what is this company? This place is amazing. I've been talking a lot about, we only have just a minute left, but like one of my very favorite things has been their supplements. Can you just talk a little bit about peak performance and this and maybe I'll talk about berberine. I don't know. I talked about it already,
Yeah.
but tell us a little bit about the supplementation because people are looking for great products that don't have bizarre, like you said, propylene glycate, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever that was.
Polysorbate 80. Yeah. So yeah, and so they've developed one of their products has been developed to give you all the daily vitamins and nutrients that your body needs, and it's in a nice little pack. And so they've developed this in such a way, and they've patented a process to where your body's actually absorbing what you're taking. The problem is, you guys, with I would say most of the supplements and vitamins out there that you're getting at the cheap stores, they might have great ingredients, but your body's not absorbing them. And if your body doesn't absorb them, then they're doing absolutely no good. And some of them have toxic ingredients in them that are actually harming you. They've done studies to where they've shown that many of these pills that we're taking that are low quality pills literally are coming out in waste the same way they went in. They didn't break down at all. And so with this company's products, you don't have to worry about that. You feel the difference really on day one in taking these supplements and vitamins. Our kids feel a difference. I mean, our kids are like in tip top shape. Unbelievable. And they're taking
They're
these products every day. It's
They're
incredible.
amazing. And
Yeah.
just as a little side note, our 13-year-old is doing 75 hard right now. And the kid is so fired up. We're literally at the end
Yep.
of our show today. We're going to be talking more about this. You guys come follow us on Facebook. It is the Real America's Mom 2.0 on Facebook because we got our platform taken down again a couple weeks ago. And of course, you can find the Mr. Neil Bishop, NEILBISHOP. Go find him, go follow us. And we're going to share more with you guys about this great American manufacturer. Go to shopwithpatriots.com and sign up, and we'll be in touch. You guys, thank you for being with us today. As always, remember, all that's necessary for evil to prevail is for good men and women like you, like us, to do absolutely nothing. Thank you guys. God bless you. We'll see you back here Friday.